Hello there guys, it's me Unstable Voltage and welcome to episode 4 of Europa Universalis IV. We are playing as England. We did manage to peace out with France in the 100 Years' War by ceding them a couple of provinces that I couldn't really hold anyway. Decided to go against war with Scotland, who were being guaranteed independence by France, but unfortunately France has re-entered the war even though we had a truce with them, but that's because obviously it is a defensive war as far as France are concerned, so they didn't really have an awful lot of choice in doing that. But we have managed to completely wipe out the entirety of the Scottish army. They may still have a few naval vessels floating around, however Castile and Portugal have been doing a very good job in clearing them up. Castile and Portugal have also been getting involved on the French side of things for me to try and take some of the pressure off me there, which has helped out a little bit, although I feel that they've lost more battles than we've won. We're currently blockading the port here. I'm not sure if we could actually detach a block. Yeah, we can only detach one ship. We don't have enough ships to do this. The way it used to work before the last expansion was that you could blockade a port with just a single ship. Oh, that's Munster. I kept thinking that was France, but it's Munster's flag. You can actually blockade. Used to be able to blockade a sea with a single ship. Now it's actually done on a percentage. Depending on the number of provinces and the tax base, you actually need more ships and bigger ships to blockade that entire area. But we will get it done. We've got 100% blockade on this area, so that is going to help us. Still at 0 war score. I've got a feeling most of that is because, well, tell us here if we look at current war score. War goal defender controls Aberdeen. So because the current war goal is still controlled by the Scottish, we're actually losing 0.36 war score per tickle per month. There have been some battles won and lost. Most of the battles have been won, although obviously the Battle of Le Bourg has been lost. But once we actually manage to get control of Aberdeen, things should swing around in our favour. And once we've completely sieged out all of the Scottish territories, we should be able to peace out if we wish to. So we've also sent one of our diplomats over to Leinster. We had originally made a claim against Connaught, but the problem with that is Leinster had decided to go to war with them. They've wiped out Connaught's army completely because they are allied with Tyrone, which is the Ulster province over here. So both of these provinces have are probably going to take Connaught out. In fact, it should become part of Leinster because it's those guys that have taken it. So I'm fabricating a claim against Leinster so I can potentially attack all three of these provinces in my next war. So that won't be too bad. So we're just waiting on some sieges finishing, and I'm going to speed things up a little bit. Now, fortunately, sieges take quite a while in the early game because we don't have any leaders who have siege, and we don't have any artillery. Artillery do help with your siege. If you actually have a look on a siege, and you will see you have this thing here. Artillery gives a bonus to the siege roll. This bonus depends on the amount of artillery compared to the fort level. So 1 artillery gives you a +1 bonus, 4 artillery is +2, 6 +3, 8 +4, and 10 +5 bonus. So actually having an artillery in an area during a siege does actually allow you to siege more quickly. Also, of course, if you had a leader that had a siege bonus, that would increase things as well. Fortunately, we don't. Now, one option you do have is you can order an assault. Now, it does cost 5 military power, which is a tiny little amount. The thing is, an assault will make you win the siege more quickly, but you'll suffer heavy casualties in doing so. So, it's not always worth doing. Because personally, it's not something that I ever bother with. So we're letting time tick on. We'll speed things up a little bit more. Always keep one hand over the space bar, just so if something pops up, you can just quickly... You should always get into the habit where you just instinctively hit space bar when something pops up. Because it's better to pause, read it, and dismiss it as being nothing than to lose 2 or 3 days when you've just found out that someone's declared war on you. You can see that it is now winter in Scotland because we can see the snow has appeared. And this will start to mean that we will get higher attrition. But it's not a harsh winter, it's just a normal winter, so it's not too bad. We're still actually losing a bit of war score here. Because we've lost another battle, thanks very much there to the Portuguese. I mean, at least they're keeping them busy. We may not be winning a lot of battles, but they are keeping them busy. And while they're keeping the French busy in France, they're not over here on the mainland bothering me. So we'll live with that quite nicely. And it'll hopefully give us the time we need to siege out all of Scotland. Most importantly, Aberdeen. There we go, it's mid-February. Already the snow has started to disappear. So once we've got the whole of Scotland blanket sieged, it's really going to help us. We're currently on -6 with the war score, which is actually looking like it's quite bad, but I don't think we have too much to worry about. The French still haven't managed to siege out Normandy and Co yet either, so that's not too bad. Although Castile are getting attacked a little. Now, Castile may peace out with them because your allies can peace out independently. They've all still got high war enthusiasm, though, so it's very unlikely that they are going to peace out at this time. France and all of its nations have a lot of high war exhaustion, though, so they may start to slow things down as this fight goes on. Okay, Provence has declared war on the Papal State. Fantastic. Not something that we need to be too bothered about right now, although it can affect some of the missions later on. So we're just waiting for these phases to tick by. The siege of Fife is over, so we have won that. We've lost the siege of Normandy. Well, we expected we were going to lose that at some point. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to take these armies and I'm going to march them back down to the south of England, just in case the French get a bit cheeky and decide to drop some units across the channel over here, because they might do. We've won the siege of Aberdeen. I'm tempted to keep Richard in Aberdeen, just in case they try and land there. Our agent was discovered fabricating the claim in Lens, so that's fine, not a problem there. Okay, our armies are arriving in Oxfordshire, that is also fine. Yep, other army has arrived. In fact, now they've both arrived together, we will group them up into a single army. In fact, I'm going to put them in London. We've lost the siege of Co. Of course, we expected that was going to happen as well. We've gained the CB against Leinster. That is fine. Yep, they're moving away from those territories now. We should be okay there. Yep, Leinster has indeed taken Connaught, so we have a reclaim CB on that as well. But let us unpause things, let them tick on. Now that we're actually controlling Aberdeen, the war score should start to go in our favour. War goal attacker controls Aberdeen, +8 war score. And that will actually go up as time goes on. So it should hopefully be enough to swing it over. You'll also notice that as we start to blanket siege Scotland, when we have 100% coverage on Scotland, that's really going to make a difference to our war score. At least it should do anyway. Depending on the type of war you're in and how the different allies are involved, that can affect how war score works. Sometimes all you need to do is completely carpet siege the one main nation that you're up against, and that's it, 100% war score. Sometimes you need to go and deal with their allies as well. But like I said, it does depend on the type of war. There's only one province we have left to siege out. I'm bringing the rest of my armies back from Scotland because they don't need to be there. Once a province has been sieged, there is a possibility that rebels might pop up. Although a war usually has to go on for quite some time before that happens. And if we actually look at the possible revolts, we can see there's a 2% 2% chance of a peasant revolt in Ayrshire, 1% in Fife, 1% in Aberdeen, 1% in the Western Isles, and 1% in the Highlands. So there's a very, very small chance that peasants are going to rise up. Not too worried about them. If we need to deal with them, we can deal with them. The main thing that we're hoping for is that we can actually siege out Lothain quite quickly here. Let's just group you guys together. So I'm just having a look around. I can't see the French actually mounting an attack on us, although they are starting to siege out Castile here. But that's not too much of a problem right now. Got a Portuguese fleet here. We're now on to the next year. Something happened apparently, but we're not allowed to know what because it didn't pop up and tell us anything. Okay, the siege of Lothain is over. So we now actually control all of Scotland. Now, what you will notice here is we still only have a 2% war goal, but Scotland are pretty much out of this fight. They're no longer able to do anything here. So what we are going to do is we are going to move our transports down here to, well, these are our lights. We're going to move these down here to the south coast, and we're going to start moving what is left of our armies down here as well. I will still leave Richard up there, I think, just in case we do get any peasant revolts. He can deal with those. We can gain a stability and gain a 0.5% reform desire, or we can gain the papal influence. I think we're going to gain the stability because that will actually help with income. It'll reduce national revolt risk, it'll increase tax, and it's generally good for us all around. So the war score should still start going up in our favour here. And what I would like to try and do is get some of my guys across and try and unsiege some of the land that I have lost, which is quite possible. So we're going to move this group into Wessex. We only have 15 transports, so we won't be able to take like massive stacks of our army across. Not necessarily sure that we need to have Richard over here, so I might unleader them. And then we can actually put Richard on this army down here. So let's unpause there. In fact, we'd be better if we put our transports into Kent. It would be a quicker journey. So you guys get down into Kent. Aragon declared war on Navarra. So all sorts of nasty stuff going on there. Okay, stuff has arrived. Let's wait for these guys to get there as well. Taking a very long way around. In fact, we should be okay. We should be able to do a relatively quick drop if we're lucky. So, if we take you guys and attach you to the transport, and we move the transport out into the water. Oh, they're the wrong ones. We want the actual transports. There we go. Now, you can't drop straight on there, but we can move you out into the straits. Oh, General Richard Plantagenet is dead. Well, that's not good. But luckily, he wasn't the leader that was on the boat, so you guys are going to attempt to land. And over here, we are going to need ourselves a new leader. We'll have to spend a little bit of military power to get one. It's going to cost us 5. And we've got this guy who is absolutely terrible, but he's better than no one, so we'll take him along. You guys need to move down here as well, so you're all in Kent together. Okay, you guys have landed. The French haven't come in to attack yet, which is good. We're going to take our transports, put our transports back into Kent. They have arrived. The French are coming in, as expected. They do have a slightly better leader, but we are going to group these guys up. We're going to attach them to the transport. We're going to move out into the straits, and we are going to land the troops. Now, there we go. The French have just suddenly changed their mind. Isn't that a surprise? There we go. Oh, we still have major control over Scotland there. Okay, so we can either lose 40 ducats and lose 2 war exhaustion, or we can gain 1,000 manpower. We don't really need the manpower at the moment, but losing the war exhaustion would be really nice, so let's go ahead and do that. We'll see if we can unsiege Normandy here, or we could just go and try and flatten this French army. That'd be a nice thing to try and do, but I'm not too sure how well that will work out. Even though we do have a majority of men, they do have a better leader, and we would get a penalty for crossing into that territory. So I'm more inclined just to try and siege this province out. What I could do, of course, is try and take one of the armies and go and siege another province, but it is a risky thing to try and do. So I may leave that just for the time being. How's the rest of the war going down south? Looks like Portugal and Castile are starting to take some of their territory back, which is good. Now, they do seem to have a lot of French troops in their territory. We are up to 6% war score, though, which is very good. And that's only going to get better with each passing month. And what we'll do on the next month, we'll go and have a look and see if it's possible to get anyone else to peace out. Some people can't peace out individually. And France are actually the war leader here. Now, what could we take in the peace deal at the moment? Because we do have a 7% war score. The chances are, if we sort by war score, we won't be able to take much at all. We're even too short to take the Western Isles at this point. So it's going to take an awful lot. What would we need for full annexation? 422% war score. That is never actually going to happen. Happen? No, that's never going to happen. There we go. Could we get a vassal. Cede provinces, return cores, cancel vassals, release nations. Don't think we can vassalize them. I think they're probably too big. Could get them to try and release nations, but that's not necessarily what we want. We're going to let it tick on. We're going to see how much war score we can get. The good thing is, of course, you can always play a war when you are winning. And then if you start to lose a battle or two and your war score starts to drop, then that's the point when you can say to yourself, okay, maybe this war isn't going quite as well as I wanted it to. Maybe I should peace out while I'm still ahead. And that is definitely something we can do. We're up to 7% war score, and it is still increasing. Let's have a quick look at the papacy. We're still competing for this one guy, though we're not doing very well on him because Pomerania are also competing with us as well. Let's have a look at our manpower. We're actually slightly above our army force limit. This is one of the reasons we've been losing money. And the reason we are above our force limit is because we actually lost some of our land. The force limit that you have is very dependent on the number of provinces you own. And because we ceded some of those provinces away, and we were already at our max force limit when we did, we've actually lost some of those units. But that's not the end of the world. It's wartime, and we do expect to lose a little bit of money during the war. So we're going to try and siege Normandy back, because that'll hurt the French a little bit. We'll just keep our eye on what's going down here. So Castile are starting to try and unsiege their territories. There are some French troops and their allies down here in Castile. But France do become very big and powerful. It's always a risk taking on France because they are one of the best superpowers in the game. But it doesn't mean they're unbeatable. So we'll allow that to continue. Looks like Burgundy have just got a new monarch. And of course, whenever your king dies, or your monarch, because it might be a queen, whenever your monarch dies, you do get a stability drop. You get a 1 stability drop if the monarch dies. I think you get a 1 stability drop if the heir dies as well. Not sure on that, so don't quote me. But if you make your king or your monarch into a leader, because you can do that, if you actually go into your military and you look at military leaders, it is actually possible to make your king or your heir, if they're old enough, because they have to be at least 15 years old, but you can make your king into an army leader. Now, if you make your king into an army leader and he dies in battle, you actually lose 2 stability. So while it is a way of getting a free leader, it's also quite risky because you could get a 2 stability drop if he dies during a battle. So that's something to remember. We're doing quite well here on the siege. We are taking a little bit of attrition. I might then march over here onto Caux and try and take that, because I think that will help things out. Also helped quite nicely by the fact that most of France's troops and their allies are actually down here in Spain. So that can mean it'll give us a chance to do a little bit of damage to France over here as well. We've won the siege of Normandy. Now this is going to be very risky, but I'm just literally going to throw my troops in. This is probably where most of them will die, because they have a better general and I'm going to get a crossing penalty. In we go. I'm actually going to turn the speed right down here because it's running at like massive speed. You can instantly see that even though we have better discipline, they do have slightly better base morale, but they're just getting better rolls. Now, apparently, the fact that this game cheats with dice rolls is a misconception. It has been reminded to players that the dice rolls are fair and even, and if it looks like the AI constantly gets better rolls, it's just because of our human tendency to only remember the rolls that are in the AI's favour and not ours. I'm going to call BS on that, because almost every game I've ever played of EU4, the AI constantly and consistently gets much better dice rolls than I do. Like, all the time. It could go either way at this point. We actually won. I'm completely amazed by that. We did win. I can hear again now, which is fantastic. It's alright for you guys, because when I actually do the post-production for these videos, I actually turn the volume of the game sounds down. And that's why most of the game, it's actually very quiet, because I have to turn it right down so those battles don't just deafen everybody. But that was a good fight to win. And they've not got many troops left now. They only actually have 4 people there. We might even toddle over and go and sit in Paris in a little bit and just see what happens there. We are increasing our prestige, slowly, albeit, but we are increasing our prestige. Up to 13% war score, which is very nice. Looks like France have managed to siege out another area down here, although the Castilian army is getting involved in a fight. Unfortunately, the Castilians are on the receiving end of a crossing penalty there, which isn't going to help them out too much. They have managed to reinforce, but I think it's too little too late. But we should be fine. They're probably going to lose that war, but even if they lose, it still severely weakens that army. So we're going to assume that they're probably going to lose that war. I'm not going to do anything here until we manage to unsiege Co. Although we don't need to do that. We could literally just go and sit in Paris. I think what we're actually going to do, because we do have two armies here. Oh, okay, we have another event. Wessex gets quarantined influenza until the 15th of May 1450, which is only for a year. It loses 100% of its local trade power, 50% of its goods produced, and 50% of its local tax modifier, and also 50% of its manpower modifier. Or, we can lose 5 administrative power, only lose 25% of the goods produced, tax modifier, and manpower, but there's a 75% chance that it will eventually spread. So I think we're going to quarantine. We can live with that for now. Just going to keep my eye on down here. Yep, they did unfortunately lose that war. They're running straight into the French army, which isn't great for them. Hopefully they won't get in there and end up getting completely stack wiped. They're going to arrive on the 21st of May. No, they managed to march right through them. That is fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for a month or two until these guys have actually managed to recover a little bit of their morale. And then I will move at least one of those stacks over into France, and then we can possibly reinforce with the second stack if need be. You don't need this many men here to siege a province. In fact, you don't actually receive... it doesn't actually siege any faster for having more men. You either have enough men to siege a province, or you don't. We've lost a little bit more war score here. I think we're up higher than that. I think it's because we are losing a few wars. Castile are actually getting quite a bit of war exhaustion and their war enthusiasm is low. But there again, so is France. And France having a low war enthusiasm means they are much more likely to peace out. So, there's no reason that we need to peace out yet. It's a little bit too early. We're going to take one of these armies. In fact, we're going to take the bigger army. We're going to move it into France. And the reason we're going to do that is because by having them in France... we are going to be able to, you know, the sooner we can start sieging France, the better. If we can actually successfully siege France, well, siege Paris, that will really help our war score. It also means as well that if the French come and try and defend, we already have some troops here. So we will be the ones defending. And you can't really get into Paris unless you come in from this direction. Pretty much any way you try and come into Paris, you will... get a crossing penalty from coming over the rivers. So the fact that we're actually sieging Paris makes up for the fact that the French are down here annoying the Castilians. But the Portuguese and Castilian have quite a big army there. They might be able to reinforce and go up there and do something, but I don't know how well that is going to work out. We're certainly going to do our best over here to do as much damage as we can. And Burgundy has also taken this opportunity to declare war on France as well. They cite Conquest as their casus belli, but it doesn't say what province they're trying to conquer. But this is actually fantastic because this means that we may be able to split France's forces up even more. It couldn't really be going any better. But I think it's time to end this video here, and we'll do some more next time. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope you are still enjoying this playthrough of EU4, and I'll see you on the next video. Until then, goodbye for now.